very much for coming. My name is Dawood, D-A-W-U-D, last name Walid, W-A-L-I-D, and I am here in my personal capacity as one of the religious leaders in the Muslim community here in southeastern Michigan. We are here today to announce that Muslims in Michigan plan to abandon Joe Biden in the next election. We've already had press conferences and movements starting in Minnesota, in California, that are reaching over to other states such as Wisconsin, Arizona, and here in the state of Michigan, in which community leaders are organizing to inform our community not to vote for Mr. Biden in the 2024 election. Unfortunately, we were driven to this point to call our community members to not vote for Biden in 2024. For number one, the Muslim community was really never thrilled about voting for Mr. Biden to begin with. The vote for Biden in the last election was really a vote against Donald Trump. However, with a number of different policy issues that he has improperly dealt with, such as not clearing up the issue of Muslims being banned from 5 Muslim majority countries in which his DOJ continued to defend cases in which the Trump administration stopped Muslims coming to the country. From the increase of Muslims being harassed in the last couple of years in border reentry, more than the last 2 years of Donald Trump. And now with his tacit support of the genocide going on against the Palestinian people, this is the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. So we are saying in 2024, we are abandoning Biden. We are not supporting him. This whole thing that he just ushered in is a farce about the 4-hour pause to allow so-called humanitarian items to come into Gaza, give the people some bread and a little bit of water, and then give the Israelis the green light to kill civilians, in which 0.01% of the people who've been killed have been actual fighters. Over 10,000 civilians killed with the express permission of the Biden administration. With that, I'm going to call on the next speaker, Huwaida Arif, who is a Palestinian, but from the Palestinian Christian community. And many of us forget that a significant percentage of Palestinians who are suffering, including those who are being bombed, are Christians, as well as churches that have been bombed in Gaza.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Huwaida Arif. I am a Palestinian American civil rights attorney. I'm a human rights activist and community organizer. I was a 2020 delegate to the Democratic National Convention and a 2022 Democratic congressional candidate. I stand up here, obviously not a leader of the Muslim community. I am Palestinian Christian, but this matter concerns all of us. And Michigan is home to many, not only Palestinian Christians, but Christian Arabs, and this is all of our issue. It is the issue not only of Palestinian Christians and Muslims, but Arabs, all Muslims, and all who care about human rights, freedom, and dignity, including many Jews who for the past month, and indeed for the past 2 decades, I have been organizing with, mobilizing with, and marching alongside with in our campaign and advocacy for a free Palestine. My parents, like many Arab Americans, came to this country with the hopes of a better life, with a belief in the promise of this country. I grew up in a union household, my family always voting Democrat, me always voting Democrat, because of what the party claimed to stand for. I wanted so much to believe in the promise of this country. And although I voted for Biden, knowing that he was staunchly pro-Israel, part of his platform also promised to put human rights at the center of U.S. foreign policy. Putting human rights at the center of foreign policy means supporting a free Palestine. That he has not done. I really regret having to stand up here to talk about votes in the US election, where all we should be talking about is stopping a genocide, saving lives, and Biden should be concerned about doing the right thing because it is moral, because it is humane, not because he wants votes. But here we are. Here we are, so that Biden knows and America knows that when Biden loses the 2024 election, it is his making and the making of the Democratic Party. I say this having no illusions that the GOP or Trump will be any better. But we cannot be expected, and we will not cast a vote for the person who green-lighted the genocide of our people. And make no mistake, this isn't hyperbole when I talk about a genocide. There is no exaggerating what is being done right now. We are all seeing it, maybe not in the mainstream media, but we are seeing it on our computer screens. We are seeing it on our phones. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has been urging an immediate ceasefire, calling Gaza a graveyard for children. Gaza is a graveyard for children, and yet Biden continues to reject an unconditional ceasefire. And on top of that, his administration has been stating that there is no red lines for the number of civilians that Israel will be allowed to slaughter. 3 weeks into Israel's onslaught on Gaza, Save the Children said that Israel had killed more children in 3 weeks than the annual number of children killed across all conflict zones around the world. That is more children that Israel killed in 3 weeks than are killed in an entire year across all conflict zones. And yet this administration continues to say that Israel has no red lines. Yesterday, we saw Palestinian children holding a press conference. A press conference to tell the world that they want to live. What kind of world have we created where instead of playing and laughing and loving and growing, Palestinian children have to hold a press conference to try to convince the world that they should be allowed to live? This is the world that is dominated by Western leaders who claim a monopoly on freedom, human rights, and dignity, but this is the world that they have created. It is a world that I reject, and it is a world that I will not vote for Joe Biden to continue to promote. Not me, not my family, not my community, not anyone who cares about freedom, human rights, and the life of every single person.
Well, assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. My name is Mohammed Al-Masmari. I serve as an imam here in the state of Michigan. In the month of July 2019, Biden visited Michigan and asked to meet with 3 religious leaders. I happen to be one of those 3 Michigan imams that sat down with Biden. We began to talk about national issues and national matters because Biden did sit on the International Committee Forum. And we were talking about international affairs and the killing of innocent civilians around the world. And what was evident is his disregard to human life. Every time we would ask a question, he would find a way to distract us by talking about democracy or the future for America, and would somehow speak about Muslim leaders around the world. And we bring it up again, and he distracts us and somehow ditches the question. To me personally, this was very clear when it comes to Biden and his disregard for human life. And as a Muslim imam, as a resident here in Michigan, we will do whatever it takes to make sure that Biden will not be in office in the next elections. We will knock on the doors. We will do whatever it takes. We will recruit our youth. We will not allow someone that is power hungry, someone that has blood on his hands, someone that has given Israel the green light to bomb, to kill, to commit genocide, and to do whatever it takes for him to gain power and political attention. The Muslim community and other communities that align with the Muslim community, with the Arabs, with the Christians, with the Jews, we will not be silent, and we will not be bullied, and we will stand firm. And it will be obvious in 2024. Thank you.
My name is Mona Mauri, and I am an activist and community organizer from Dearborn. In 2020, I mobilized my Arab and Muslim community to vote for President Biden, hoping for a better future and an end to divisive policies. Our hope in Biden has turned to disappointment. Over the past 30 days, Biden has caused irreparable harm, and it's become clear that a vote for Biden is a vote for genocide. Just last week, at Biden's urging, Congress approved a staggering $14.3 billion in a supplemental appropriations bill for Israel, using our hard-earned tax dollars to fund the genocide and indiscriminate bombing of Palestinian civilians, hospitals, bakeries, journalists, mosques, churches, schools, and refugee camps. All the while, our domestic needs, such as housing justice, Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage, student loan forgiveness, and more, continue to be neglected here at home. The U.S. just approved $320 million in sales of guided bomb equipment to Israel. Decades of U.S. support of the Israeli occupation forces is demonstrated in providing $2.67 billion in military aid to Israel annually from 1999 to 2008. That amount was raised to $3 billion annually from 2009 to 2018. And since 2019, we've been providing $3.8 billion of our tax dollars annually to Israel. Over the past month, the Biden administration has provided Israel with bombs that killed innocent children. Over 10,000 Palestinian civilians killed, including more than 4,000 are children. We are acutely aware of the demonization and dehumanization Arabs and Muslims face from this administration, particularly during the ongoing crisis in Palestine. Arab and Muslim Americans are watching, and our children are terrified that President Biden and Congress do not recognize the humanity in the children of Palestine, whom our children see themselves in. Biden's funding and unconditional support for the Israeli genocide and ethnic cleansing, along with his sharing of Israeli propaganda and lies, has led to a significant uptick in hate crimes and discrimination against our community, endangering American Muslims and Arabs abroad and here at home. Our community showed strong support for Biden in 2020. Remember, the majority of Michigan's 145,000 voting Muslims voted for Democrats in 2020. In Michigan alone, there are over 300,000 residents of Middle Eastern and or North African descent, and over 200,000 registered Muslim voters. President Biden, you have betrayed the trust we've put in you. Now that you've shown your complete disregard for human life, Mr. President, we will rally every voter in our community, our friends, and allied communities to make sure you don't win Michigan in 2024. Which that alone can cost you the election. Michigan is a swing state where Trump won in 2016 by a little over 10,000 votes. And the Arab and Muslim vote will be the swing vote that costs you the election. A recent poll by Mgage shows a massive decline in Muslim support for Biden, dropping from 80% in 2020 to only 5% today. Today, we stand united in our demand for an unconditional and immediate ceasefire. We call for immediate action and refuse to engage in any conversation before a ceasefire is achieved. Our commitment is unwavering. We pledge to abandon support for Biden in 2024. This is not a political stance, it's a moral one. As Muslims, we hold the sanctity of human life above all else. The Quran teaches us that saving one life is akin to saving all of humanity, and killing one innocent life is like killing all of humanity. We cannot support a leader or an administration that enables mass murder and genocide. There is no bigger evil than the mass murder of innocent human life, and it's a red line to our community. President Biden has left us with no choice but to withdraw our support. In the light of these deeply troubling events, Michigan Arabs and Michigan Muslim leaders today echo the sentiment of our communities and pledge to abandon support for President Biden in 2024. We urge the administration to reevaluate its stance, prioritize justice, and recognize the humanity in the children of Palestine. Let this be a clear message to President Biden and any future administration or politician. We will not support those who support genocide.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Joe Biden has got to go.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Peace be upon you all. My name is Imam Imran Salha, and I am the Imam of the Islamic Center of Detroit. And as a faith leader, God commands us to name things as they deserve to be named. And Sleepy Joe is a murderer. And this is a genocide, this is ethnic cleansing, and the blood is on his hands. It would have been more appropriate for him to stay asleep rather than to bankroll this genocide against the innocent civilians of Gaza. The executive director of the Islamic Cultural Association in Farmington Hills had his nephew killed on Friday. His brother and two of his sons are now injured. And just because there is someone here in America who is related to that innocent civilian in Gaza doesn't make it any more important. This is a genocide and Biden is responsible. One of my relatives in Deir Jrir, Ramallah, was killed, 37 years old. She has 8 children that she leaves behind, killed by the illegal Zionist regime that is Israel. And yes, I am using that name because that is the only name that is befitting. The illegal Zionist regime that is a non-state has murdered one of my relatives overseas. And if I were to vote, the ink that I would use to sign on that ballot would be through the blood of the innocent civilians of Palestine. I want you to know, Biden, that when you're helplessly counting the final count of all the states to see whether or not you will gain another term, I want you to remember my face. There's no consolation, even if you lose the election, but there's at least some relief that we will be the reason that you will not be in power, because you are a bloodthirsty murderer and you will not remain in power. It doesn't end here in Michigan. This is an effort in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Minnesota, California. Every single state that is a swing state will make sure that you will lose. You will be in the trash can of history for killing innocent civilians. There is no morality and there's no nobility to an individual who signed off on this, and his only response is to say, don't believe the statistics from the Palestinians. Don't believe. This is who you are? The supposed centralized location of nobility and morality, and this is what you have to say for yourself? So my advice to you, Joe and Jill Biden, pack your things and get ready. You will never be the president of the United States again. Thank you. We would like to open the floor for questions.
It's the strategy to sit out.
What is that?
No vote. do not.
We know right now that we are not voting for President Biden. We don't know what the circumstances are. And look, we are fully aware that we may be dealing with a situation that might be worse than Biden. But there's nothing worse than genocide. We witnessed the genocide. This is something historical. So there's no way that the people of morality can justify a vote for someone who killed 12,000 innocent civilians in Gaza now. Never again. And we will never forget, and I want people to know that this will be the core focus of our engagement with politics, even beyond the elections of 2024. 2024 is only the beginning. It will continue beyond that. It's too late. How many children would have been alive today if he called for a ceasefire 7 days ago, even 1 day ago, even 3 days ago? It's too late. And just because I'm saying it's too late doesn't mean that he shouldn't do something about it. If he's a person of morality, there should be a ceasefire today. That's the end of the discussion. I don't care. It's irrelevant to the discussion. I do not think that anybody would be better, but that's irrelevant to the discussion. Our voices are not just something that we sign on a piece of paper. They're an expression and an extension of our morality. I cannot sign off on somebody that bankrolled this genocide. And after they were caught bombing babies, there are people in Gaza that are entertaining surgical procedures without anesthesia. There are births that are happening. They have to literally surgically remove a baby from the womb of a mother in Gaza. And I'm supposed to sign off out of strategy? No. Our strategy is we will not write your name on the ballot. And that's the least that we can do. Yes. Every single day is another day that we will utilize every element of our power to ensure that a ceasefire occurs. Everywhere. And there are celebrities. Macklemore was at the national protest in DC. Everybody is finding out and learning more. And every day that they continue this, the illegal Zionist regime only exposes its ugly face more and more. So let them continue, and we will stand on our morality. We've engaged Biden. We've engaged Biden numerous times.
Mobilizing our community.
We have been organizing and mobilizing our communities to ensure that the people that are responsible for this are held accountable. So this will be manifested in all of our organizing, efforts. Right now, the primary focus of today was to talk about the presidential elections. Obviously, there will be manifestations for other individuals that also took part in this. Debbie Dingle propagated the lie of the beheaded babies that was used to justify the illegal, the carpet bombing of Gaza. We will hold her accountable too. And we were just this morning with Debbie Stabenow, also holding her accountable. So every individual that gave their voice to support this genocide will be held accountable. Everybody. It doesn't matter Democrat or Republican. This is a moral issue and an ethical issue. Yes.
Okay, at the National March on Washington, that drew 700,000 people.
It drew 300,000.
300,000?
Yes.
Thank you. I believe their perspective was that there needs to be a new movement divorced from the Democrats and the Republicans both, because neither have an answer.
I will pass it off to Imam Dawood Walid, but I will say that from an academic perspective, this is definitely a viable option. We have to break away from this this dichotomy that has plagued our politics for decades.
Again, Dawood Walid, and as a reminder, I'm speaking in my personal capacity. I'm not representing any mosque or any Islamic organization. I'm in my personal capacity. Not just Muslim Americans and Arab Americans, but many Americans are tired with the status quo in the duopoly between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And we are interested as a community in organizing with other Americans of good conscience to begin a movement to support other people who are running outside of the duopoly of the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment. About 60 years ago in this city at King Solomon Baptist Church, Malcolm X gave a talk called Message to the Grassroots. And Malcolm X compared the so-called liberal to a fox and the so-called conservative to a wolf. But if you're a sheep herder and you have sheep, wolves and foxes both eat sheep. The wolf just makes more noise while the fox is more sly. And we, as a community, gave our votes in 2024 to that sly fox, Joe Biden, against the loud wolf, Donald Trump. And in this upcoming election, our community is committed. Yes, we'll be engaged to vote for our school board members, city council on the local level, state representatives, state senators. All politics is local, but when it comes to the national, we will vote, and perhaps it'll be third party, but it definitely won't be for Genocide Joe. Are there any more questions?
I'll ask, as you know, Michigan has one of the largest populations of Arab Americans and also Muslim communities. Why is this message important right now, and why are you asking other people to join this cause as the Arab American and Muslim?
We're calling on all of our allies, all communities of color, all minorities, all marginalized people to join us in organizing for holding Biden accountable. Our enemy is the same: white supremacy, colonialism, whether it's here in Black Detroit or Palestine or Iraq or apartheid Africa. Our enemy is the same. And so I think we need to all come together and hold our elected officials accountable and not support those who are for genocide.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, we will conclude. And if you all have any specific questions for a feature, you can speak to Imran. Imam Imran, who is actually Palestinian American. It's very important to get the Palestinian voice. That center, as well as, is Huwaida still here? And Huwaida, who's also Palestinian. So we have our Palestinian Christian sister and our Palestinian Muslim brother right over here if you want like one-on-one. And with that, we thank you very much. And may God help the people of Palestine. And may God lift this calamity coming from the people of Palestine. And may God stop the genocide of the people of Palestine, the ethnic cleansing of the people of Palestine. And may Almighty God help oppressed people all throughout the world, from the east to the west. From the east to the west. Black and white, Arab and non-Arab, Muslim and non-Muslim. And we ask this through the loving grace and mercy of God, and He is the most merciful of those who show mercy. Ameen.